Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today to discuss the new P2 Automotive Trading Portal. My name is Ashley Waldron. I am a P2 specialist here at ADEQ. The P2 program developed a new tool for your industry, and we're really excited to share it with you all today. A quick note before we begin, if Spanish is your preferred language, we do have a Spanish webinar recording available. Otherwise, we are happy you're here, so let's go. First, we'll briefly discuss the P2 program and define what P2 is. We'll talk about how we acquired the funding for this project and how we developed the content. Then we'll go over some of those key concepts that are covered in the training, as well as opportunities that are available through the training itself and implementing P2, and then leave you with some overall benefits of P2 at your shops. The P2 or pollution prevention program, you'll hear me use those interchangeably. If you're unaware, here's a little history lesson for you. So the P2 Act of 1990 was a federal law incorporated into the EPA's policies as a response to the millions of tons of pollution that we were generating and the tens of billions of dollars that we were spending on trying to control it. And this was a very reactive approach. The method of waste management was really treatment and disposal, or just releasing it into the environment. So the P2 Act established source reduction as the most effective strategy to manage waste and reduce pollution. A year later, Arizona followed suit and created a regulatory program to reduce waste at the source with a special focus on hazardous waste generation and toxic substance use. The P2 planning program is mandatory for facilities who meet certain thresholds, which we'll look at briefly in a moment. But if those thresholds are met, facilities are required to perform a P2 analysis and file a P2 plan, which just helps businesses pinpoint the root cause of waste generation and create measurable goals to reduce their use. We do encourage voluntary P2 plans, so if anyone is interested, please contact us for more information. We will share our email with you at the end of this presentation. So what is P2? Well, when it comes to managing waste, I think we can all agree that reducing waste at the source is the most effective solution. So source reduction, also known as pollution prevention, is just the elimination of waste before it is created. Now, if it has been generated or created, the preferred management method would be reuse, recycling, followed by treatment, and then disposal as a last resort. The primary objective of source reduction is to eliminate the release of pollutants and substances or contaminants, anything that poses risks to human health and the environment. Interestingly, Arizona does include recycling efforts as a form of P2, but if we were to follow a product during the recycling process, we'll see that it requires more inputs, right? So additional resources and even generates waste in order to give a product a new life. Therefore, the waste management hierarchy follows this reduce, reuse, and then recycle model, where reduce is number one. Some examples of source reduction can be seen here, but I want to go on the following slide. So these are those source reduction examples, but they're called P2 approaches, and these are applicable to most industries, so you may notice that your business already engages in P2. For instance, operational changes, right? Are you implementing safety protocols, training your staff, and then standardizing that process? That is P2. Maybe you've substituted your materials for just inherently safer products. Maybe you've modified your end product to reduce waste generation. Maybe you've invested in efficient equipment, even retrofitting to boost efficiency. And then inventory control measures, like are you tracking your products? Are you implementing first in, first out, or JIT purchasing? These are all P2 approaches. Thresholds. So I mentioned that the P2 program is mandatory for facilities that meet certain thresholds of hazardous waste generation and toxic substance use, and these are those thresholds. And you're not likely going to meet these, so the P2 team really wanted to find a way that we could expand our resources to businesses outside of our normal P2 sphere, which is the program. We think that the automotive industry has a lot of potential, not only to identify, but develop and adopt P2 practices. And by doing so, we hope that we can make this industry safer for employees and the community. This is why we wanted to pursue a project for your industry. So let's now cover the grant project itself. So the EPA funded this project under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Deal, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, or EJA. And this project just was set to rebuild America's infrastructure, expand access to clean drinking water, tackle the climate crisis, advance environmental justice, or EJ, and invest in communities that have too often been left behind. ADEQ chose to implement a project that would help communities with high population densities that also experienced environmental burdens, because our mission is to protect human health and the environment. So we really want to ultimately reduce health risks and those environmental implications associated with the use of hazardous materials and toxic substances. And as we know, the automotive maintenance industry, maintenance and repair shops, you all handle some very dangerous materials. Garages will utilize solvents or lubricants. Many substances are flammable. Auto body shops, in particular, handle some highly volatile paints, varnishes, and thinners. So we decided to create a free online training platform and resource center to share those best management practices and P2 activities that are specific to your industry. All of these resources are available in English and in Spanish. To create this whole resource webpage, we decided to engage in outreach to maintenance shops in South Phoenix and South Tucson to gather feedback on what topics would be beneficial for the training. We asked about common pitfalls or challenges that communities face, and then we use this information to develop our training material. We also consulted with an auto shop who has a long-standing history of building P2 into their business model, and that is Salem Boys Auto in Tempe. So we decided to work on a case study with Salem Boys Auto. And before we begin, I just want to kind of orient you with the facility specs. So they are 15,000 square feet, have up to 20 employees, up to 30 services per day, and they've been in the industry for quite some time. Although the business is now operating on a large scale, it really had humble beginnings as a small 6-bay auto shop in 1988 in a shopping plaza. And the company was really able to grow to the 20-bay garage that it is today by implementing sustainable business practices early on. And they've received awards for their environmental strategies, which is really why we wanted to use their experiences and their successes to curate the material. So these existing P2 activities listed are outlined in our training. So for this case study, the P2 activity that we chose to highlight were the bulk fluid tanks and drums. Back in the 90s, Salem Boys Auto said they encountered a problem, and that was their reliance on small packages of oil and other fluids. The staff had to unpack and pour oil quart by quart, which not only resulted in waste of time, but also materials and money, and just increased the risk of accidents and spills. So the company decided to install bulk oil tanks for the most commonly serviced oils. Now, they took various factors into account, deciding on what types of oil that they wanted to store, how do you refill the tanks, what systems were required in order to make this successful. And a part of this activity, they acquired two 350-gallon tanks to store 5W30 and 5W20 semi-synthetic oil. However, these tanks were replaced in 2016 just due to space constraints, and they were substituted with these five 275-gallon tanks and a 275-gallon tote for diesel exhaust fluid. They also purchased 55-gallon drums for other fluids like coolant and brake cleaner. I want to touch on, your facility might not require 350-gallon tanks, but there are many other size options to choose from when switching to bulk purchasing. However, merely installing the tanks and drums is not enough. A facility needs to have the necessary equipment in place, the systems, and the processes solidified in order to make the most out of this P2 activity. So first, you need to have an effective inventory management system in place. You need to schedule your deliveries of fluids and even your cleaners in advance to ensure that you have enough supply to complete your services, but not too much, right? Because that leads to overstocking and expired product. Salem Boys Auto utilizes a parts department that monitors all of their fluids and makes just in time purchases, also known as JIT purchasing. In our training, we discuss just in time purchasing and other inventory control measures to help you optimize your inventory levels, to reduce your waste, and decrease the costs associated with overstocking. Next, having the right equipment in place is another critical factor. Overhead reels, which you can see here on the left side, are an excellent choice as they provide easy access to the fluids at your shop. And the use of these reels has significantly reduced accidents at Salem Boys Auto because the fluids are right there at the bays. Additionally, the reel nozzles, they fit directly into their corresponding hole, which just minimizes the chances of spills. But if overhead reels are not within your budget, there are other items that you can use, like reusable sprayers for products like brake cleaner, which eliminates the need for aerosol cans. And even these caddies here are great too. These are all cost effective and make it easier to handle bulk fluids safely and efficiently. And then, of course, training and staff support are the key to success when you're switching to bulk purchasing at your shop. Salem Boys Auto had a seamless transition due to its long history of just sustainable initiatives and continuous improvement strategies. Every single staff member was informed early on and trained on the new equipment without fail. And the installation of the tanks was also seamless because the staff worked on the weekends to avoid service disruptions. So, effective communication and training are essential when you're making any major changes to your process. Of course, implementing this P2 activity was not an easy task because it required careful selection of what oils would be stored in the large tanks. But thankfully, Salem Boys Auto had their shop's inventory data to see what is the most common, what would be the most appropriate. And other fluids were stocked in bulk too that ranged in size from 6-gallon pit packs to 55-gallon drums, really depending on their usage. So wrapping it all up, clear communication with vendors, ensuring that you have the proper inventory control measures in place, along with the correct equipment, the staff training. These are all essential components to this P2 activity. And like I said before, it's important to determine what size bulk works best for your facility based on your own data. Results. The total cost of the installation of the oil tanks, the diesel exhaust fluid tote, and adding 3 overhead reels was about $15,000. However, the annual savings based on the usage of fluids at Salem Boys Auto is around 11,600. And here you can see the types of fluid, their usage, and the bulk price versus conventional dollars per gallon. Of course, this is going to vary based on your facility's fluid usage, but we can at least see here that purchasing those common fluids in bulk does lead to cost savings, which will help with those upfront costs of purchasing tanks and drums. It's worth emphasizing that even small changes can have a significant impact. Here are some other notable P2 activities at Salem Boys Auto, something as simple as reusable shop rags or finding ways to recycle. Even housekeeping initiatives are P2 approaches. So, keeping clean and organized workspaces, or making sure your stations are only stocked with what is needed for the day. These activities might seem obvious, right? But without them, we really do see issues with inventory management, with spills and expired products. So, housekeeping has a big impact. Okay, so we've learned a little bit about the project. Now, let's look into the training portal. Here are the 5 training topics that we have to offer in the training portal, and we'll quickly go through these and I'll give you a quick summary. Number 1, Introduction to P2. This is just to gain an understanding of what pollution is and how to prevent it, right? So P2. Number 2, Automotive Maintenance. We're not trying to teach you about your area of expertise, but rather just review the implications of the common waste produced and then identify P2 opportunities. Number three is detailing and car washes. This is to learn about the impact of stormwater runoff and water use in general in the context of washing and detailing. Four is collision repair and refinishing. This is taking a look at the waste generated by collision repair through painting. And we also touch on other solid waste like used tires in this section. And then last, general P2 opportunities. This is taking P2 outside of the garage and taking a deeper dive into administrative spaces or offices. And we also cover management tips in this one as well. So this is great for shop owners and managers. This is a self-guided training. So start with topic one and then any other topics that apply to your shop. If your facility doesn't have a car wash, you're not required to take topic three. But we do believe there is useful information in all topics for you. In addition to the training topics, we also have developed additional guidance for you as well. So we have supporting documents available for download and print if you'd like to print them. And these are practical applications to the key concepts that are pulled directly from the training for you to share with your staff. In addition, we also created signage, again, pulling those key concepts, but breaking it down or, shortening it a little bit with a picture so you can hang it up in your facility just to as a friendly reminder to your staff. And then last, if you're a visual learner like myself, we have created some, we call them P2 tip short videos. These are, again, those same concepts, but just in video format. All of these are available to you on the training portal webpage. Okay, so outside of being a great environmental steward, I bet you're wondering what's in it for you. Well, we are offering certificates for participants who do well on, remember, topic one, that quiz, and then any other topics that apply to your shop. And this will be the only time that we ask for your contact information, and it'll only be used to share the quiz results, certificates, and other P2 opportunities that may result in recognition. So the quiz certificates are for individual employees, where VESP is issued to an entire facility. And VESP stands for Voluntary Environmental Stewardship Program, and it recognizes and awards incentives to businesses with good environmental compliance history that strives to go beyond what is legally required to protect public health and the environment. Participants in the program, they gain additional access to tools that support their existing programs to make them better, as well as help them find opportunities to further reduce costs and spur innovation. The Copper VESP Award is a one-time recognition issued annually to facilities that have completed a project that resulted in measurable environmental improvements. So maybe you learned something from the training and you implemented a P2 activity or approach, and that led to reductions in some form of waste. We could recognize you for the Copper VESP Award. There are other awards, like higher levels of awards, available to regulated facilities, and you can find out more about that at azdeq.gov/VESP. Okay, and last, benefits of P2. So I'm not going to touch on all of these one by one because we did briefly go over them in the presentation, but I did want to say automotive maintenance shops play a vital role in the life cycle of a vehicle, which really extends its life, right, and promotes sustainability. But we do understand that working with dangerous substances can pose risks to human health and the environment. We, ADEQ, are committed to safeguarding you and your employees and the surrounding community. So this training program is designed to help you adopt practical measures to ensure safety and environmental protection. And by adopting these green or sustainable approaches, you will be able to cut costs or reduce your liabilities and, of course, attract customers who are environmentally conscious. That's very important right now. And we highly encourage you to publicly promote your environmental training certificates as well as the VESP recognitions. And if you are received a VESP recognition, we would love to showcase your business publicly so we can help motivate and inspire others in your industry to become environmental stewards. You all are the subject matter experts in this industry, so we request that you take the trainings and share your feedback with us, right? Please share it with any other business in your community so we can collectively ensure clean air, safe water, and healthy land for everyone. The training link is provided here. It's azdeq.gov/P2 auto training, or you can scan the QR code right here. And in the case of any queries, please feel free to reach out to the P2 team. Our email is p2 at azdeq.gov. We thank you all for joining us here today. We look forward to hearing from you, and you all have a lovely day. Thank you.